There are many methods in world building by which we can achieve more depth and trueness to our world. And in this case, we can discuss Spirit of the Century. In this case, the phrase is more generic and doesn't refer to any particular century. And whether we believe it is realistic or not, though human consciousness does make it, even on Earth, much more realistic than one would potentially like to believe, the spirit of the century is something akin to the atmosphere of a particular time or period. Doesn't necessarily need to be a century, frequently it's a decade. Especially with our world in several recent decades, every decade had definitely its own definitive different flavor. And previous we could hear about different spirits of different centuries. And whether they were physically like that or not, we can certainly have worlds that are more so truthfully like that, like their spirit of their given period, which is important to convey well because this is what actually gives world building and lore exposition its kick for when it is not delivering by character power or promises of might and advancement, answers of questions that the players or readers have about philosophies contained therein. No, this is what is the glue that bridges the setting together for the player or the reader to enjoy in the meantime. To be invested, to say, oh, I like Age of Adventure, or oh, I'm interested in Age of Machines, oh, I'm interested what happens when we get printed books in this sort of setting. Just find what's appropriately, intriguingly delicious, nice, comfy, exciting, dangerous but proposition-y, something like that. Attractive, even kind. Whatever emotions you want, just make sure they are there and that there is enough of them and multiples of them. Yes, multiple different kinds, because it's usually not only one kind, no matter what. You want to do more than just saying, oh, it's all-encompassing war. It's just drudgery. But yes, even war is more than that. So even if you have a war, even if it's all-encompassing, you want to, bring those feelings of being lost, but able to join up and, being a mercenary is a lot like being adopted in such all-encompassing situation, especially if the character is lost from their original country, family, place, etc. Then there are opportunists, and for them this might be a jolly thing, but not all of them are necessarily evil and bad people. Maybe they're just inexperienced or experienced enough and in denial enough to not worry about the negatives, and many other approaches. And then those cheerful people can give some cheer to our much more reluctant protagonist, or so on or so forth, whichever angles you wish. But this is already some depth. You need to present the ability of people to feel such a spirit of the environment from the get-go, before you even wait for people to interact too much, because otherwise you have a boring tapestry as opposed to a lively and dynamic tapestry. So choose and pick your spirit of the century and insert it with all its might. And don't leave it be the only thing. Expand on it, but expand on other things as well. And by expanding, I don't mean just explain other things, and you don't want to drone and on about it. No, you want to install things at their appropriate locations. This is just one of those early presentation-y things that you can do very immediately when first opportunity for exposition arises. It is important to internally, within your own mind, expand on it very quickly and then sprinkle bits of it along the road as you do other things. And then those things interact and the world gets more and more formed, even as it's not over-described, but rather action takes place as soon as you have pitched several attractive enough elements, both from character side and the world side. But yes, spirit of the time is important to give the flavor, to give the impression, because leaving the impression completely up to the player or reader without context is just creating for a medium impression. Because when somebody is told that something existed historically here or there, they have at best neutral impression unless it's an interesting thing, in a way that they approve of, and in a way that they are intrigued by, in a way that they want to explore, in a way that they want to either oppose or support, and so on, many other facets. But just saying a thing leaves the thing neutral at best, which gives it somewhat a drab background. And remember, we are in the business of, or pleasure, or both, rather both, of installing an image of that background autonomously in the observer's mind. And that observer should install something good that we are making, not install inferior version that we didn't and weren't able to succeed in patching into that head. So as such, we want to quickly provide a much more brighter and dynamic image that will, well, self-activate and dance its tune all by itself inside the observer's mind. That way we can keep giving consistent results, leaning on to what we have been building from the start, as opposed to missing to have this presentation. Waiting too long just gives us a situation where the player isn't invested enough to investigate for days, for weeks, for months, until they learn your world the way you know your world, from stats, statistics, angles, factions, etc. As such, we need it from possibilities of atmosphere. What does it say that the others are already experiencing in the world? Other people who already had time to live there. That's why spirit of century or time is important. It presents the current picture of the place in such a way that can be tasted before it would be needed to be invested in action. And so, adventure, if you thought this was unique or helpful, maybe you can spare me a click, and I could see you here next, or perhaps even every week, because every week there's more such things made for you. I make them myself. I'm M, and welcome to dMTable. See you next time. Bye.